Woo! Time to feel good. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. We got one person. Frank letting me know it's time. Frank the lurker, who is apparently everywhere, I'm told. Thanks for joining us. If you're already here. If you're not, I hope you show up soon. We're up to 109 subscribers now, so bring on those YouTube bucks. Tonight we have Wally Kern, and he's over at Supreme Gecko, Supreme Isopod, Supreme Fish Tank, I think. I don't remember the weird name of the fish that he showed me, but it's a beautiful fish. We're going to talk about time management today, which, as you can see, we're logging in late, so I can use this lesson. Let's just bring him on. So Wally's been here a million times. Well, this is the third time. Welcome aboard, Wally.
Oh, it's nice to be here, John.
And Nanette.
Calling it aquarium, Supreme Fish Tank thing. So thanks for having me, John.
You're welcome, Wallens.
Oh, you guys.
Walenzio. Oh, Walenzio. That's good. What's up? Who's back there?
I have Nanette. I don't know. She's like
got me.
She's like a mile away. I don't know if you
comfortable.
can see her or not.
She's comfortable. She looks comfortable.
So I asked Nanette to tag along because I'm going to say some things here. You're going to ask me questions. How do you do this, or what do you do? And I'm going to say, well, it's because of this, and Nanette's going to go in the background, so I can't see her. She's going to go, no, I do that. That's how
she's just going to make.
I do that.
Now, I will say I'm excited to see Nanette's disapproving faces because she's done those to you in the past on this show. So I will say my daughter corrected me on Wally's name. I told my daughter I had to run downstairs and do my show with Grandpa Wally. And she said, no, it's not Grandpa Wally. And I was like, okay. She said, it's Grandpa Wallet. Said,
Grandpa Wallet.
Fair enough. You're 3 and never wrong. So that works. Mm-hmm. And Frank, Wally did know you were here because I narked you out.
Oh, yeah.
So I told on you, Frank.
I would be shocked if Frank the Tank wasn't here.
Disappointed.
It's his first time.
Mr. Joe Buffer.
Mr. Puffer?
Mr. Joe Buffer. So you're saying this is his first time on this channel?
Yeah, he didn't know
that. I know of. That I know of.
I have now brought my one and only fan over to your side, so that's pretty cool. Thanks, Frank, for joining.
He said he hides in the shadows. So, and then he reminded me immediately that it's time. So, you brought your troll friend over here to goof on us. Thanks, Wally.
Frank hides in the shadows. I'm going to call bullshit on that one.
Bullshit. He watched the stream last time. So awesome. So he watched the show last time you were on. I think I remember him chiming in. So good. He might have been my 4th subscriber at that point. So welcome back, Frank. You're in the top 10. So okay, now that we're totally off the rails, let's talk about time management. So Wally, you are a grandpa of 2, right? You have 2 granddaughters?
4. It's kind of 4. Our son, married in. It's 4. So we have 2 for sure. 2
granddaughters, our own children,
and 2 married in. See, that's why Nanette's here.
See, keeping track of your own grandkids.
Exactly. So one granddaughter is here in the mornings and sometimes in the evenings with us, stays overnight.
Crystal, right?
Crystal. And we get to see the other granddaughter, unfortunately, not enough. Yeah, and the other 2 from Christopher, our oldest son's marriage, we don't get to see as much at all that we would like to see. So, but they keep us hopping. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're not. Don't call me a grandfather and Nanette a grandmother. It's grand dude and grand babe.
Oh, I was going to call you the Podfather and the Podmother, but
yeah, I did.
I knew you were wearing it. I knew you were wearing it.
Well, I haven't taken it off since Sunday, so.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I should.
Frank wants to know if you are interested in adopting a grown man, but I know you're stretched a little thin right now.
So. consideration.
I got enough with him
Yeah.
in my life. I don't want another one. Come on, Frank.
So for Wally's responsibilities, you went through the grandkids already.
Yep.
You have a lovely wife, Nanette, who probably does most of the upkeep for the show. You have Supreme Gecko, the website, and tagged onto that Supreme Isopod.
Yep.
Those each now have their own channel, or Supreme Gecko and Supreme Isopod are the same. They're married, right?
I have gone, that's probably from a YouTube standpoint, I've batted that question back and forth if I should separate the two. And I still like doing isopods, and people that keep geckos comment about the isopod videos. So, and every channel that I, advice channel that I see, how to do YouTube and how to do thumbnails, everybody says niche focused and don't put two together. I don't care. I'm going to keep them together. It's going to be one. It's going to be Supreme Gecko-ish Supreme Isopods.
That's funny because that's part of the advice you gave me when I started this show. So I'll tell you guys, if it wasn't for Wally, this probably wouldn't be a show. So, or it wouldn't be that good. So I put up 4 thumbnails now. 3 of them are my own. One is Wally's. This week's is Wally's. Frank says Nanette is very intimidating. I feel like she can make Wally and any other person disappear if she wanted to.
Wow.
She has Guido on speed dial.
They have some new trees planted in their yard. I don't know if that says anything. I made that up. But so now you have a new YouTube channel that's Fish. I know you're doing like 2 or 3 videos a week with Supreme. You're doing live streams and copying off of me, which is fine. It's fine. All the cool kids are doing it now. What's that?
I learned from the best.
You taught the best, so that makes sense. You go to the shows. I'm seeing you post from the shows like at least every other weekend, it seems like. And you're doing live streams from the shows. Did you do or are you going to do a thing where you were like a guest speaker or something this last week? Did I see that?
You just did it yesterday.
I did a Madison Area Herpetological Society. I was a guest speaker on their channel. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff. Like that's a lot of stuff. So I just want to go over some points. Like so when you're going through your week, are you planning it out well in advance? I know your videos are shot kind of at least 10 days before they air, right? No?
Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll go with that.
And that's like, she's censoring you right now.
How much in advance do I do 90% of my videos, Nanette?
Same day.
Same day.
Same day, because you're talking about all the editing and the hours and hours of editing that go into some of the videos.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that I probably over edit, and I don't know if it adds that much value, but I've done some editing that has taken 12, 14 hours of editing just to put the video out. But a lot of times, that process, I don't want to delve too much into this, but that process starts weeks beforehand. I start thinking about, I have ideas, I already have a title in mind, I already have a thumbnail in mind, I have the key points. I might drill into a little bit down further and have some, outline going, days and days before the video is actually shot. But a lot of times it's, turn the camera on a Tuesday morning so that I can get the video done by 2:30, 3, 4 o'clock.
Okay. I started doing on a separate Facebook page. I started doing a puppet. Like it's kind of an unedited rant, kind of angry. Maybe I'll get him out later. He's a cardinal. He's a massive puppet that I basically won. It's like a $600 professionally built puppet.
Wow.
So anyway, hey, Angie Schwartz, who's this?
Oh,
Angie. Angie. Hi, Angie.
Hi, Angie.
You brought all your friends. I have 0 friends on here right now, except Frank is like my new friend.
So that's 2. That's both of my friends. So we're all set.
Both of them. So anyway, doing that show just by itself, it took me months to get it going. And then you're talking about editing. The only things I have are the outtake videos that I started with. And they both end, one of them ends like, and this sucks. and it stops. And I'm just using my own voice. So they both end in about a minute. So I understand the editing part where I would love to see more outtakes of your videos, to be fair.
It would be the same thing though every single time.
Okay.
It would be something like, okay, to take care of Periodora, and I'll go, son of a, and then I'll stop the video, start it again. So my editing is like wiping out all of the swear words and all of the, oh my gosh, there's a fly on me, or Gus, get off of my feet, kind of things like that. Gus, quit walking. We have wood floors downstairs, and every time I turn the camera on, Gus decides to walk through the kitchen and dining room.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised my cat's not here. Widget's always here, like, meow, meow, can I be on the show? Meow. He's my co-host now. I couldn't get anybody more reliable. So I got Widget now. So then some of the videos I've been slacking a little bit lately because I've been going through a lot of stuff in my own life. So I'm behind on some of your videos, but I did watch the last one where you called me John. That was one of my favorites.
Can you keep track?
How many times?
Yeah.
You got the isobuddies part right, so that's the important bit. So
I nailed the link. I hope I nailed the link.
I didn't look. I was scared. So
now I'm scared.
You called Nanette George in that video. It was crazy. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
One of my cats has been really naughty. Yeah. Same. You need to get out of the woods and do a video, Wally. You're getting heckled.
That's Angie.
That's got to be Angie. I do. I haven't been outside in the woods collecting isopods or material this whole summer. It was hot. It was cold. Then I got busy, and we had some sickness in the family that has taken some time. But yeah, it just hasn't worked out.
That's fair. Now's the time. Now's the season. Is Angie the one that was in the video and went out and got you stuff?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So every couple of weeks, show up at our door and say, "Okay, here's some mushrooms," and then a couple of weeks later, here's some wood. Take some wood.
That's awesome. That was one of my favorite videos.
Love you too.
That was one of my favorite videos that you had when you had the GoPro with Angie out in the woods getting dead wood and whatever else, moss.
Nailed it.
Yeah, because you get to see the sources. Like I like to see and show people like where to go. I took my cousin with me hunting for stuff. Like we basically found wood and a couple of weird isopods that I still don't know what they are. But he had a lot of fun. Like he had no idea. He's like, "This is just dead wood." I'm like, "Dude, this is rotten gold, is what it is."
This is cool. So Andrew said, "I'm going out to look for some stuff," and I said, "Oh, do me a video. Can you shoot some?" And it doesn't have to be for professional. It can be shaky. It doesn't really matter. But do a video. She said, "Okay, what do you want in it?" And I said, I don't care. Just do, and I'll cut and paste and do all that stuff." And then she said, "So that's it?" And I said, "One thing, find decaying wood, something that peels off so that I can talk about that in the video." And that's exactly what she did.
Yeah, and it's awesome because that video actually showed me what to look for specifically. So, yeah, and I have some still in my garage. I have a tub of it in my garage still I'm about to make a new bin. So beyond that, this brings me to the next point. So beyond all the stuff we already talked about that you do on a weekly basis, like you're literally making a video for each of your channels at least once a week. You're doing live streams, you're doing shows, you're upkeeping hundreds of reptiles, geckos mostly, right? Is it all geckos?
It's all geckos.
Fish tanks now. You've got I don't know how many fish tanks.
Too many.
I've got a light on, so this might be blinding, but bear with me.
Okay.
So there are my fish tanks. So there's 18 on that stand plus 5 tubs on the bottom, and then the one behind the net is a 30 gallon.
What's in the 30? Is it that awesome fish that I asked you about?
No. Actually, that is in one of the 10s. It's in.
Are they small?
They are small. All of the fish that I keep are small. I don't keep any really big, thunderous Oscars or red tail cats or anything. I just keep little tiny fish that they're like little isopods in water.
Okay, we're gonna need to talk about those because when I set up my pelletarium, I want to put a pair of those in there because that is a beautiful freshwater fish, like unreal.
It is.
So it'll be like a year. You got time.
Yeah.
So keep them for a year. So then you've got I don't know how many isopod species, over 100, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
something like
I don't know how you sell them, so you have to package those up, hopefully on a weekly basis.
that takes a lot of time. So the packaging, I mean, there are certain things that, I do exclusively. I haven't hired anybody yet, but there's some things that Nanette does. And if I didn't say, she certainly would jump in at this point. But so Nanette does the bugs. So Nanette does the feeding of our bug room. We have a separate room for bugs to raise mealworms and dubias and things like that to feed the geckos. So
Those
Nanette,
delicious peanut beetles.
delicious peanut beetles to feed the geckos and to feed me. So Nanette does that every other day. She also does the shipping. So she puts the orders together. She gets the boxes ready. She gets the containers. I go downstairs on Mondays because she's at school teaching, and I collect the animals and the containers are ready. She boxes them up. She sends them off. She does all the tracking numbers. So that saves a tremendous amount of time. Tremendous.
I can't imagine. Like I don't know if you saw. I just did. I don't know if you saw on my Facebook. I just did my first sale that I put up on isopods, and I sold a majority of my collection really to my friend at Ophi's. So just because it was getting too much. Like after my therapy thing, it was getting to be too much. Just taking care of 30 odd species, and I just wanted to pare it down to a couple. So when I gave them all away, I didn't realize how many, like, I can't think of the name of it. How many mankai? I was thinking of baby ants, because I'm an ant fanatic now.
Yeah.
But how many mankai were going to be left that I just was like, I'm done. Forget it. Like I'm not scooping any more of these, because it had to be at least 2,000 isopods that went over to him. So dairy cows, and then the orange scaber, the orange koi that you gave me, I still probably have like 500 mankai at least in that bin that I just gave up. I was like, forget it. I'm just going to keep these. They're mine. But it was mostly dairy cows and those guys. But it was weird to see the ones that I don't really check on that often, like my poor Cubaris marina, are overrun by pruinosis right now. Powder blues.
No.
Yeah, that bin is just, I just saw scattering and I'm like, that's way too fast. What's in here? And it was all pruinosis basically. So it's like 50-50 right now, but that's not going to last.
Yep.
So so that's a big deal. Like just the feeders that you keep is a huge ordeal. Like, thank God you're retired, right?
So my wife, Christopher, our oldest son, came over one day, I think in the springtime. Nanette, correct me if I'm wrong.
3 years ago.
But Nanette goes, he's retired. I thought he would have slowed down. And Christopher looked at her just with that, Mom, really?
Really?
That's what you thought. So when I was working how many hours, Nanette, a week?
Oh, 80, at least 80 to 90 a week. If
Well,
not
We've
more.
talked about that.
It
The
was
last
horrible.
few years I was working just all crazy hours. But I loved my job up until about the last couple of months. I loved my job. But it always felt like I was not the decision maker there. I was kind of priority over here, priority over there, and I wanted to focus on one priority and do some other stuff at the same time, but be driven. But within minutes, I could be presenting a status report on a multi-million-dollar project and be, laser focused on getting that done and some other tasks. And then the next second, it could all change. Somebody could walk into my office and say, "Now we can't put that on the back burner. We need to do this." So that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I left work 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and never looked back. I took about probably a whole month and, watched the Flintstones and the History Channel. And then thinking, I'm going to go back to work. I've got my resume. I've got all the files that I need. And after about a month and a half of flipping channels and sitting on the couch, I said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to do the geckos again, and I'm going to get going with that. And I'm going to drive forward with what I want to do. I didn't want to go back and sit down in interviews and go through that whole process. So it's worked out well. I'm probably putting in, Nanette, right
70
now,
hours.
But
So it's time to yabba dabba do something with your time. Is that what you're saying?
no, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I work for myself now. If the manager makes a wrong decision now, I don't come home and say, oh, I don't know why we have to do that. If the manager now makes the wrong decision, I go, well, I've got to kick myself in the butt, and tomorrow I've got to do a better job. That's what I'm saying. I'm having fun with what I'm doing right now, and it's all on me to do the right thing.
What do they say? If you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
There you go. Absolutely.
It's 70 hours of a passion instead of 70 hours of work for somebody else.
Yes, absolutely. Right on, man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about to take a involuntary break. So I'll probably take 2 days of watching TV and then get back to it. So not enough about that. So do you think that you were in IT, right? You were an IT guy.
Yes.
I'm not downplaying that, right? You were like a major IT guy though, like high up there.
I was a programmer analyst. I was a business manager. I was a project manager. So, the last few years I was managing other managers and running big projects.
So do you bring a lot of that back to, do a lot of those skills apply to what you're doing now? Like to manage your time? Boy, and Nanette is answering before you so fast.
Yeah,
you're back today.
I knew that was coming. So the first month it was like, okay, Nanette, what are you doing this afternoon? Well, I'm thinking about maybe going shopping and going grocery shopping. Do you have a list? Can I see the list? What's on your list? Did you make sure that? So I was micromanaging Nanette, and it was horrendous. Yes?
It was tough.
It was tough.
I had my own routine.
Was that the episode? Was that before the episode that you filmed when you had a black eye?
Yeah.
So that didn't work out, but I caught myself pretty quick, and I realized that, I couldn't bring those same kind of skills to the household, but I could, kind of use those same skills in driving my projects forward, like new racks, a whole new rack system, a whole new, fish stand. I could micromanage my own work really, really well. And that's worked out well. I still put together spreadsheets. I still put together dates. I still put mini tasks down. I manage every single day. So a lot of those skills still apply. But, at this point, if I miss a date, it's not the end of the world. I kind of change things around a little bit.
That's one of the good things about keeping the species that you have is you can take a day off or miss a day once in a while.
For some of the geckos, no. For the isopods,
okay.
For fish, we do a show on a Sunday. The fish don't care. I feed them Monday. But the very first thing that I do Monday morning, though, is I go downstairs. I make sure that the geckos that are real sensitive to humidity and other things, I take care of them right away. So in my mind, I have my priorities, and certainly the most expensive, the most fragile, the most sensitive geckos, is right on top. And then everything falls under that.
Sure. Because like Crusties are super easy.
Yeah.
Crusties are super easy. Was it every other day? You're talking about every other day, every 3 days?
In the winter, we feed every third day in the winter because our temperatures drop down a little bit. But they're
right.
Crazy.
Mine has been my one has been getting more tame. I've been excited about that.
Right.
She's not as insane about taking off on me. So that's got to be. Are you juggling? Like, do you schedule like, okay, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is crested gecko days? They're in on those days, and then you can get other stuff done on the opposite days. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Yes, it is. So we might miss a day of feeding crested geckos, let's say. But my schedule is pretty much isopods. We might be scheduled to feed them on a Monday. I might feed them on a Sunday or a Tuesday. It doesn't really matter. The sensitive geckos we have to maintain, on a very tight schedule. But all the other ones, kind of fit in that. I want to get it done Tuesday. But I do schedule around, big events. Like, I have sections of the room. So I'm actually running 3 rooms. I'm actually running the whole basement. So we have a 2,200 square foot house. So that's a lot of basement with a lot of geckos. So I manage in groups. So Monday will be group 1, Tuesday will be group 2, Wednesday will be group 3, and we're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of geckos. And then I just start the process over for, Thursday. So if I have one of the big groups on, let's say, coming up on a Monday or Tuesday, I'll feed Monday so that I can get my video done on Tuesday. So I try to schedule. I can't do big groups of animals. Like I can't do geckos and isopods and do a video all on the same day. So I kind of work that schedule in my head. But I also have a calendar downstairs that has that all recorded on as far as what we've done, so that at any given time I can go back to the calendar and say, we have crusted geckos due.
Angie wants to know, and I'm going to ask you specifically to shorten it up, but like a typical day. Like, so just a typical day in the week, like how many, you wake up, you have your cup of coffee in your isopod mug. You have your rice beetle sandwich or flour beetles.
Peanut beetles.
Peanut beetles.
It's downstairs.
Oh, okay.
I've watched it.
And so that part's every day. So then what happens after that? So, and you have Crystal in the mornings, right? In the mornings and then after school?
Yep. So typically it's about, I'm going to just generalize here because it's a lot, but 6 o'clock we get up. I jump on the phone and I play Pokemon for 10 minutes. I put the phone away. I check for messages, and I try not to answer any messages at 6:10, but I get an understanding of what I have to do. If there's anything urgent, I address it right away. If there's things that are halfway urgent, I leave until I don't address until after Crystal leaves, and then that's the first thing that I do.
Okay.
So like 6:10 until about 8 o'clock, I'm with Crystal, and I'm kind of maybe on the computer doing a couple of checking my tasks for the day, updating tasks. I might be researching for a video. I'm preparing for the day. So 8:15, she gets on the bus and I come back in. So that 8:15 until 10 o'clock, if I don't have a video, it's usually answering messages. And I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of, hey, how do you keep track? How do you take care of this? Hey, my crusted gecko isn't eating. And part of why I'm doing YouTube is trying to, get that as the common response. But not every question I can just say, hey, watch this video. But anyways, until 10 o'clock, that's usually my time to catch up with messages and go to YouTube and answer all the comments. I try to turn around comments within a day. But then from 10 o'clock until about 3 o'clock with a half-hour lunch or so in there, that's my time downstairs. That's either my time downstairs feeding geckos or it's my time doing a YouTube video, somewhere around there. And if I have a bigger YouTube video, today was a little bit lighter with our period or our pickup because I didn't have to do a lot of research for that. But if I have a bigger video, then my day really starts at about 10, 6:10, 6:15 with doing some of the filming and stuff like that. So until 3 o'clock, Nanette comes home. From about 3 o'clock, Nanette comes home. We kind of catch up. Mondays are shipping days, so we're shipping, the isopods and geckos out on Mondays. But other days we're just kind of catching up. Crystal comes home at 4. We have some time with her. But then the evening is either, doing more research or trying to catch up on bigger projects, like, transferring a group of isopods. Let's set up 5 bins for these isopods and get them moved over, something like that. We do some feeding at night. We do crusted geckos certainly at, every other night feedings. But nights are generally a little bit, lower keyed. It's usually during the day between that 10 and 3 o'clock. One thing that we do, I know I'm rambling here, but one thing that I absolutely positively do, I'm looking for my list here. I have my schedule right here. And one thing that I don't do but this isn't like a schedule. This is my note that between like 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock, I usually, unless it's, an exception, I don't check my phone. I don't look at messages. I think one of the things that people get kind of caught up in is a message pops up and they answer it. And I do that a lot. I used to do that even more. But a message comes up, I answer it. But if you're doing that, you're jumping between tasks and you're really not focused on either of the tasks. So I put all that aside and I do, messages, email, Facebook, private messages, things like that, YouTube comments. I'll do that outside of that 10 to 3 time so I can focus on exactly what my main tasks are for the day during that time.
Your actual duties.
Yes. my real job.
It's just amazing how much time goes into it. Like I get 3 comments a month and it's like, whoa, let me answer this. And it's immediate. Like by the time they hit enter, I'm like, oh yeah, thanks for commenting. Which is weird because I feel like we leave a lot of things open. That sounds crazy to me. Like that's good. Like you don't work though. Like you don't go to a 9 to 5. So,
nope.
Or in your case, a 9 to 9. So that makes it a little better, but that's just a lot. But again, you love it. You love it.
He's not a sit down kind of guy. Just sit and watch TV. And I can't tell you the last time he's just sat and watched a baseball game from beginning to end or anything.
Wow.
I used to for baseball. I used to take opening day off. I wouldn't go to the Brewers stadium and watch opening day. That was just such a time suck. I thought it very enjoyable event, but I would sit at a desk with my computer open, watching box scores. I used to be a huge fantasy baseball nut, but I would sit watching, 3 games at 11 o'clock because 3 games come on at 11, back and forth. Okay, the pitch should be now. Okay, next channel. So I was intent on watching 3 games at one time at 11 o'clock. And then at 3 o'clock, 3 more games came on. And then at 7 o'clock, 3 more. So I would get 9 good games in that one day. And that was my season right there. I would watch baseball that one day and then right back. And my boss just, opening day. Well, you're gone that day, right? Yep, absolutely. So that was my one day for myself.
Okay. All right. I asked your audience to remind me to ask you. You were talking about all the comments that you answer and all the requests and the messages. And I know we talked about that in the past, like how much it's great, but it gets to be a little overwhelming. How's that coffee thing working out for you? Where you're like, buy Wally a coffee?
Oh, Josh, I can't. So it's not about pushing off time to answer messages. I can't over-explain this enough. It's not about, hey, I'm not going to answer any more questions. If you want me to answer your question, you're going to pay me $5 or $10 or whatever. It's not about that. It's not. But what it does do, and I know the difference, somebody asks me a question and they haven't done the research on Google. They haven't done the research on Google Scholar. They haven't done any YouTube lookups. I have videos out there, and you haven't even watched my videos, and you're asking me how to keep Harriet or Picta. So in those cases, it's an easy decision. Don't go back and say, watch this video, or let me take 2 minutes and explain, because it could take me 15 minutes. What I do is, thank you very much for your question. I appreciate your trust in my knowledge. What I want to do is spend some one-on-one time with you. Please visit this site and set up an appointment, a consultation. Okay. I've had several consultations, and it works great, and it's nice to see the numbers and the dollars going into the account. But truthfully, I'll do that, and I probably get maybe 1 out of 5 people that actually set up a consultation. I don't think I've ever had anybody come back and say, well, you money hound, why are you?
Right.
Nobody said that, but I do get a lot of, well, thank you very much. I'll go over there. And then, I never see them again. And anybody that's purchased animals from me, any of my friends that visit, YouTube, the community, I don't go through that. I spend the time and I answer the questions. But if I feel like it's a person that's kind of doing the one-off, hey, I want you to answer my questions right now about this because I don't want to do the research, I send them over to buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee is that it's the sponsoring by feeding a gecko by paying $5 or whatever, and then it's also memberships. And I'm trying to go above and beyond by adding additional videos and tables of here's my favorite preferred vendors, and things like that to make, membership, go above and beyond. So, but answering questions, I'm using it kind of as that base because it would drive me nuts. Why am I taking the time to answer this question? Because I know, all that the person is doing is just kind of getting a quick answer and then jumping off, and I'll probably never ever see them again. That was hard mentally to try to handle all of the questions that I was getting like that.
We talked about it at length. I was very excited that you came to me about it, but I know you struggled with that. And I knew, I was like right away, like, no, ask him for money. Like, what are you doing? Like, your time is valuable. You put the time and effort into getting that knowledge. Like, there should be, I don't know, there should be some kind of recompense,
The people that have signed up for consultation say the same exact thing. And again, it's very, very difficult for me to promote this and to promote selling information or experience. But everybody that has set up a consultation has said, this is above and beyond. It's well worth the money. So I appreciate everybody that has signed up for consultation. Thank you.
I feel like that's awesome. Like, a lot of people for a while were asking me a lot of questions, and it kind of just stopped. On isoBuddies, a lot of the isoBuddies people were asking me, and I would tell them, like, hey, go ask this person, or go ask this person. I'll tell you what I know, but I am not an expert. Like, I've just crossed over a year and a half, right? But it was even for me, it was a lot. And I know it was nowhere near what you get. So I can understand. And you're way busier than I am with all your stuff. So I can imagine. So that you were saying that takes up a decent part of your morning, just going through the messages.
Just going through the messages. And it's a lot of times it's not, hey, how do I do this? Here's how you do it. It's more, how do I do this? Here's how you do it. Well, what happens when this happens?
Yeah.
And it's back and forth, back and forth. So it might be answer the message, and then 5 minutes later, the person comes back with another question. And that's all well and good. Don't get me wrong. Don't think that I'm saying, hey, don't come to me with questions. I love answering questions. It's just I had to find a balance, and for me that helped a whole lot in finding a balance. I still struggle with saying, hey, go to the site and pay for a consultation. I still internally struggle with that a little bit, but I'm getting better.
Yeah, and
over that.
Like anybody that knows you or has seen your channel or your Facebook page knows that education is your highest priority, because just the pictures we saw this weekend of you with the kids, like you could just tell how you typed the message that was just moments of pure joy for you to help these kids learn something. And like, obviously you didn't sell Pictus geckos to these 8-year-olds, but now they know about them. Now maybe they'll be like, hey, I want one of these when I'm 12,
Or maybe they'll walk over to another vendor that's selling leopard geckos, and maybe some of that picked knowledge will transfer over, and maybe it will help them care for their leopard gecko a little bit better. It's all about education, and you're absolutely right. First-time customers are valuable to Supreme Gecko. Second-time, third-time customers are golden. I jump for joy. I'm as happy as anything when I see somebody come back and say, hey, I bought a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago. I'd like to buy again. That's it for me. The education is the very first part, and the second part is some of these return customers. And I think a lot of that is because we try to educate first and then sell second. So I'm a terrible business person, but I guess I'm a halfway decent educator.
I think you're halfway decent at both. So I feel like you're doing really well. And I would say from my experience and just from seeing your livestock, like that's top shelf stuff.
Thank you.
So I don't remember who it was, but I remember somebody asking me about prices, about where you would go for a good deal on isopods. And I sent them to 3 different vendors, and all 3 had about the same prices. You were one of them. And I don't remember who the other 2 were, but your prices were all about the same. I think it was Isopod Chick and maybe the Mai Tais. So you guys all have about the same prices, and shipping is about the same. So, but then they came back like, are those prices serious? Are they really? I think the one they were looking for, like yours, were $5 more for a dozen or something. And I was like, if you understood the quality that you're getting from these 3 breeders, like these aren't people that are getting in 1,000 into their house and then within a week they sell them out. Like they're not, I don't know what they're like, a wholesaler, or a mover. They're breeders. Like they care for their animals. They make sure they get the best care, the best quality of life. You know what I mean? Like they know from the ground up the quality of their livestock.
A customer, I shouldn't say a customer, I'm sorry, a member of the Madison Area Herp Society stopped by our table Sunday at the show, and they're looking at all the rare geckos and everything. And he kind of looked at me and he said, are you telling me that you captive breed all these? And I think I literally took a step back. I was dumbfounded, thinking that maybe the thought is because some of these are rare that they're being imported or they're being, flipped. I purchased them, Friday, and now I'm flipping them on Sunday. I didn't know how to respond, and I kind of looked at him and he goes, I know they're captive bred. I'm shocked that you're breeding all these rare geckos. But it kind of, drove the point home that I don't really talk about that. I don't bring animals in and resell them. If I'm selling an animal that I'm not breeding, that I haven't captive bred, it's probably because I've worked with them before and I'm ready to move on to another animal, or I just don't have room because I'm working with their babies. So everything's captive. No. What's that?
Or I said no more.
Or Nanette said no more, so I have to get rid of them.
Like that ever happened?
Sometimes.
Never.
Sometimes.
My wife just the other day was when she saw me come up with all those isopods, she's like, how many do you have down there that I don't know about? I was like, I don't know about all of them, so I'm going to guess a lot. I'm going to guess there's a lot down there you don't know about. I had to convince her that the ants were okay because she just found out about those. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Like she doesn't come to the basement ever. So not ever. Like all those chores are mine.
Does she have an email address?
Not that you'll ever know.
Not that you're ever going to find out.
It's Victor Smalls at Gmail.
Yes.
It's John.
But yeah, I slipped like it was normal. She's like, you have ants? I was like, yeah, I've had them. We talked about this.
That's not the answer. That's not the answer. The answer is, I've had ants forever. You don't know about my hobbies. You don't know about my hobbies. You don't care enough about me. See?
That's kind of where I was. Well, I was like, I talked about it on my YouTube like the last 4 months every week. And I don't know. So you don't watch my show? You're not a subscriber?
I'm hurt. I'm hurt that you don't watch my shows and know more about my hobbies.
You almost got me. Just because I saw that as part of your day. Like that's part of planned into your day on one of those post-it notes. Like, try to guilt trip Nanette into letting me have one more kind of lizard.
I say that not because I've pulled that off, because I just bring it in and say, I'm buying another gecko. And Nanette goes, whatever. We had a friend that would do that all the time with fish. This is 25 years ago when I was into tropical fish, and he would run into that. And I'd go.
He'd run in though, make it obvious.
He would make it kind of obvious. We'd go to a fish auction, and he'd buy 28 bags of fish. Like his wife Jeannie wouldn't know about this. And he would run in with his coat around these fish, run in and dump them in the tanks. Dump. Sergio, what are you doing? Sergio, stop putting those fish away. What are you? And she would come down, and all the fish would be in the tanks, and he'd just be standing there. Is that new? Jeannie, I've had that forever. You don't know what fish I have anymore. I feel so bad that you don't share every time. And she'd just walk away shaking her head. I felt so bad for Jeannie.
That's just where she knows she's just defeated. Like, having this for the 800th time. So you got to wear them down. That's the first rule of having a life, people. You just got to wear them down. It's worth the investment. It's worth the investment. There's going to be some cold nights on the couch. But do you want isopods or not? Or fish?
Yes, absolutely.
Are your hobbies valuable to you or not? Or your marriage? You got to choose.
You got to choose one, yeah.
You got to choose which one's going to be awesome. I got Nanette to laugh. Yes. Yeah, it's just such a crazy crazy life that we live as these hobbyists. It's just nuts. And it's funny that you're into Pokemon too, because that's kind of how these hobbies are, especially isopods. I didn't realize the correlation until I got into isopods. Like, you do got to get them all. I'd say once you get past 10 species, that's when you lose your mind. That's when you have to have like 500.
I 100% agree with you. I think that it becomes more of a collection than pets, and sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not okay. I tell everybody, why do you keep isopods? Well, you can feed them, you can study them, you get colors, breeding, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, a lot of people keep isopods because it's their beanie babies, because they want to have this different beanie baby. They want to have this color. They want to have this size. It's beanie babies, collecting beanie babies.
Yeah. And if you're taking care of your beanie babies, that's fine.
Yeah.
Does Nanette know about the vine snakes that you bought at the show last week?
I don't even know how to react to that.
Frank wanted me to ask so that Nanette would stab you.
Your answer is, I am smarter than that.
And that's how we lost Wally as a guest.
I know what happens if I do that.
Yeah.
Frank said, tell her Wally got a snake and she'll slaughter him. So I said, okay, here we go.
So there's limits.
Rules.
There's limits in every marriage, and that's probably number one. I know if I come home, and I've said this before, if I come home with a snake, she's leaving. Are you taking the dog too?
The dog, me, and your charge card.
And the charge card go.
And we're going
wow.
to the best hotel I can find.
Till the snake is gone, right?
Yeah.
Can you remember the one day when somebody dropped one off that you were handing off to somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had to ride in the car with that thing.
Yeah. There was a hognose snake about this big, and she was constantly like looking back at the back seat to make sure that it wasn't out.
I was not happy. That was a 2.5-hour drive. It was long.
That hearse would have been appropriate.
No.
For those of you that don't know, I was at a reptile show that I was supposed to meet Wally at, but he left almost as I was pulling into the parking lot. They'd had enough. And I saw a hearse in the lots in a handicapped spot, and I took it. I was like, so you're still here, right? Took a picture of it, and he was like, I don't get it.
No, Angie, there's no Pokemon Go in the woods.
Does Pokemon Go not work in the woods?
I don't know, but she wants to.
It works in the woods.
Phone into the wood. If she wants to know if you're going to make her take the phone into the woods to play Pokemon.
That'll help you hatch eggs.
So, Angie, I want you to collect some wood, some mushrooms, and catch me 3 different types of Pokemon that I don't have right now. So if you can do that for me.
Spin a couple steps.
There's new ones out. There's new ones out today, Wally.
Yes, I got
just
4
saw
of them.
I think she's
all right.
for the evolution, so.
Nice. I got the dog. I've got to evolve it yet, but I don't know what it turns into.
Okay, just keep talking.
The poodle? Did you get the poodle?
I'm going to start reading my notes here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're playing Pokemon Go.
Do you have the leather? Let me see your phone case a minute. I had that exact case. I have that case upstairs right now. I just got the note.
Oh, okay. Okay, nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, with the clear back. So I'm going to draw. My phone that I ruined, it wasn't waterproof. This one is. Yeah, we're going to be paying that off for a while. Before we made the first payment on it on our bill, I took it in the pool with me for like 30 seconds.
Oh.
And that was all it took. By the time I took it in to like just have them dispose of it, the back of it had swollen off the phone. It was like going to explode at any minute. Wow. So, yeah, it was bad.
That hurt.
It wasn't good. Yeah, $500. That was $500 that we'll be paying off. That was like 4 months ago. So that's kind of part of what the isopods sills were for. So to kind of like, I still need a new phone, but I can't put another one on our bill. Yeah, I just can't get over how the shows have changed a little bit. I feel like they're not the same. I don't go as much as you, but I feel like it's kind of a different atmosphere. Because you have like the hardcore hobbyists that are, like you, the captive breeders, the guys that are really into it. And then you have the guys that just like, maybe they are the captive breeders, but they're looking at it as just a price tag on that thing. Like It's just dollar signs in an aquarium or in a tub or whatever for them. And I think to me, that's where the breeders lose the point. Like they don't remember why they got into the hobby in the first place.
I think at reptile shows there's niches, and if you can fit into one of the niches. I don't know.
Yeah, niche.
So if you can fit into one of those, then I think you're okay. But unfortunately, one of those is, and I had a friend that does leopard geckos and sells them for pretty high, but they're quality leopard geckos. He was right across the aisle from somebody selling leopard geckos for like $45 a piece or something. Maybe they were 25. I don't know, but they were super, super cheap. So I don't think he did very well in sales that day. But that kind of makes it tough. So you have a kind of flipper, sitting across the aisle from you, and you have the quality geckos. You're going to have some people that just walk by and go, "Oh, $45, and yours are $500. Let's get a $45 one." So there's some education that needs to be done there. His geckos, the $45 were over like shaved bark, and it just was the worst setup, and it crammed probably 40 in a 10-gallon tank, and it was horrendous to see as a breeder. But that kind of is a reptile show, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's where like when I started out, I was looking for that $45 gecko, and not the. I still can't afford like the $500 leopard gecko, but I want them. I want that extreme orange carrot tail. Because orange is life, right? Orange is the color of life.
Orange is orange.
I mean, there's been a lot more families at our shows too this time, the last few shows. I feel like it's a lot of families with kids looking for a pet kind of versus the breeder, somebody that's looking for an animal that they're going to potentially breed.
And on that level, I almost want them to get the cheaper pets so they'll spend more on their setup. So
the thing that I hope for ultimately is that it kind of doesn't matter as long as the education is there. Mm-hmm. Seeing leopard geckos over shaved wood was really a killer for me because that's just horrendous on them. But hopefully this family that buys the $45 gecko will go home and do some research or go on YouTube and look up a video on how to best care for them, and then change the method so that they're not looking at how to keep the leopard gecko from what was presented to them at this show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're not getting that re-Xeroxed Petco Smart care sheet, that I feel like Petco and PetSmart started putting out those Xerox. Is that still a thing? Did I just age myself?
Yeah.
They would call up on the rotary phone and they would get the Xerox. They would order the Xerox paper. But they would make those copies, and I feel like I've seen those at the show, like the exact copy of those care sheets. And they're so bad. Mm-hmm. But not to disrespect the Petco PetSmart employees, we're gonna have somebody on in a couple weeks right around Halloween, and she's a long time PetSmart employee. I think it's PetSmart. But a lot of them work hard. But I think that when Petco and PetSmart started putting out those sheets, it was because they were having those people run registers and talk to customers about dog food and stuff that has nothing to do with the animal care of the aspect. And those people are the unsung heroes of those stores that aren't like, "Nah, don't buy this here," or that's not what you need to buy to keep this animal. You need this, this, and this.
I kind of look at it as exactly what you said. I think that it was probably a corporate decision to put down a standard, care sheet on leopard geckos, crescent, whatever the animal, so that they could give them to the employees and say, when somebody asks you about this, give them the sheet. Don't sit there and talk to them. That's not good time management. What a segue. That's not good time management to have their employees talking for a half hour on, the care of a leopard gecko, 2 or 3 or 4. Here's your sheet. Thank you very much. Buy the animal.
Or they have it next to the animal where they just, if there's not someone there, they just, and I feel like the sheets are wrong. I feel like they're making the mistake. Correct me if this sounds really stupid, but financially, I feel like they get a deal on the animals they have because they buy in bulk, right? So they have these specific breeders that they're not high-end animals that they're selling.
Right.
I feel like they should be selling them for less markup on the animal and make their money on the equipment, like on the setup stuff. Like they make a pretty penny on all of that stuff, like the decor, the cork bark, like all that stuff they make bank on. So why do they have to make it on everything? Like, cut the price on the animal a little bit. If you're going to sell starter animals, don't give out a high-end price. Like, don't make me pay $100 for a baby crested gecko that's going to die before I get it home. Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We had our first interview with a former pet store owner, Andrew Sensky, DEA Exotics.
I'm talking to him in like 2 weeks.
So he came on my fish channel, Supreme Fish Tanks or whatever you called it, and we talked about what it was like owning a pet store, and he said exactly the same thing. Sell the animals for cost or just above cost, and then sell the tanks and the supplies and everything for what your neighbor down the street is selling them for, and that's where you're going to make the money. Bring the people in to buy the fish and then sell the setups.
Yeah, and if they're getting a good deal, they'll come back.
Exactly.
So if you're making a little bit, like 20% more on your fish or whatever, that's not unreasonable.
Exactly.
But when you're going to a place like, I don't know if you have them by you, we have a Petland aquarium adventure.
Yep.
So they have really quality stuff. Like, I'm not going to lie, they have really nice fish and a really nice selection. But like $25 for a neon blue ram per fish, like, they're not that great. Like, they have bent fins and, their eyes don't match. It's like, come on. I'm not paying a premium for pet store fish. Do you know? What's that, Nanette?
Their eyes don't match.
That's a specially bred ram. That's the googly eye ram. So.
Like, they're like this. It's like an Oranda or something, like one of those disgusting, weirdly bred goldfish.
They have chameleon eyes,
Does anyone in the channel love those goldfish? I got to get a guest on that talks about those awful goldfish that aren't meant to live. Like, I feel like God looks down at those breeders and is like, really? I gave you this beautiful goldfish and you made this turd with fins? Like, what's wrong with you?
God looks down and says, what have I done?
Like,
what the heck was I thinking?
I should have made
another flood. Just flood the whole thing. All controllably. Let's just move on, man. What the heck have we done?
I should have made chickens the top-notch animal on this planet.
Maybe they are, and we just don't know it because they're not telling us.
They're a lot smarter. I just read a thing on the chickens that they're a lot smarter. Just in a nutshell, they have a lot of different calls they do. And so if you're a lower tier rooster, like, you don't get the same nookie as the higher tier roosters. So what the higher tier rooster will do is if he sees a hawk, he'll do a call and everybody runs home, right? Everybody runs into the thing. But if the lower tier rooster sees it and the higher tier rooster doesn't see, he'll just be like, whatever. Like he doesn't say anything in hopes that the higher tier rooster gets taken out.
He waits until the last second and goes, hey, heads up.
No, he doesn't even. He's like, oh, I was eating.
I warned them.
They got Jim.
They got Jim, man. I tried. I gave it.
I'll call some widows.
My turn.
Jim's not even cold, right?
Wow.
But yeah, that's smart. That shows some intelligence to me, some foresight.
Absolutely. Good story.
Who knew? So time management, we're way off track.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of dedication. I feel like, but is a lot of it just getting into a routine? Like, it's hard until you're in the routine, right?
It is if you're not used to the tools and the habits. I think that it's really, really hard for somebody to say, I have 23 things to do this week and I haven't even started and it's Thursday. How do I get out of that? I think it's hard for people to understand. And I think when that happens, it gives me anxiety. And ultimately, if I don't get it done by Sunday, I had 23 things that I didn't get done this week. I'm kind of depressed. Now, next week, I want to watch the Flintstones. It's hard to develop those habits unless you've been doing it for a long, long time. But there's always a starting point, right? There's always a point where you can go, okay, I know that first step is obviously recognition. I know that I'm not good at this, so I need to start watching videos or read a book or watch some and start recognizing it, and then start applying some of the time management theories, methodologies. And I think the biggest one that you can tackle is how to separate out the big things from the little things and how to prioritize your stuff. So again, going back to my example, I know that Tuesdays I have the video that I have to put out, or I get to put out, I should say, and then Fridays I get to do a video on isopods. So Tuesday is my gecko, Friday is my isopod, and I know that my week is going to be built around that. I can move around some other times and do some other things, but I have to do that. So I try to prepare so that Tuesday I can sit down and do it. Now, if I'm really late on Tuesday, can I reschedule? Did something else jump up and bite that whole schedule to pieces? I think it's recognizing that you have a task to do and staying driven on that task. So what that means is, just like, my list here, I don't take messages, between 10 and 3 o'clock. I focus and I try to get what I'm supposed to. I usually don't. I usually don't.
No, I'm agreeing, because I text you sometimes and you don't take messages.
Oh, you don't take messages. Okay.
Really? Oh my God, you do text me. Wow. So yeah, I try to ignore as much as I can. Now there's some messages that I take if it's something serious, or somebody has a problem with an order, or somebody has a special order. The business comes first in a lot of cases. Health of geckos, health of animals takes priority is if it's an emergency, and then second is orders and taking care of orders, and then other things fall into place. But after that, I'm trying to be laser focused on getting my big tasks done. I put the other ones aside. Now, between, that 7 o'clock ish, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and 10 o'clock time frames, I'm looking at the things that are coming in and I'm making the decision. Is this a big task? Is it a small task? Is this going to take me more than 2 or 3 minutes? Yeah, it's going to take me more than 2 or 3. I need to research. I need to look up. I need to go over to this website. I need to do that. So in my mind, I'm kind of storing that for a little bit. If it's less than like 2 or 3 minutes, I jump on it. I do it. I get it out of the way. I think a lot of times this is huge in email. I think a lot of times people just go, okay, there's so many messages, I don't even know where to start. Well, there's so many messages because you pick it up, you read it, and you drop it, and you don't do anything. Pick up the next one that needs some kind of an action. You look at it, you don't take the action. So now all of a sudden they have 100 emails that they haven't answered, and they're way, way behind. So my thought is, and this is kind of not my thought, but it's general policy methodology, I should say, it is touch once. If you have something that's going to take you a minute or two, touch it once, get it done, get it out of the way so that you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to store that thing again and it's gone. If it's bigger than, a couple of minutes, if it's something that I really need to do because it's a high priority, but it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes, then I might adjust my schedule a little bit to work on that. But the bigger pieces, I use a tool. I go to Sheets or I go to a to-do list on my phone and I record it. Okay, I've got to take care of this. So once a day, and again, this is between that 6:30 and 10 o'clock time frame. I'm looking at my schedule and saying, this is my biggest task. I have time, allotted for that. But these are the other tasks that I have to get done sometime today. I've got 23 different tasks, but these 4 have to be done today. So now I'm kind of figuring out when to do that. Maybe it's, after dinner, maybe it's between that 4 and 6 time. Doesn't matter as long as you're kind of lumping this stuff together so that you're not jumping in, jumping out, jumping in, jumping out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I learned recently is to take your tasks and break them down into smaller pieces. And so, especially when you're overwhelmed, because then as you do those little things, you'll kind of build momentum. And you'll feel accomplished. You'll be like, oh, I got that done. Oh, I got that done. And the more you do, the better you'll feel about it. Mm-hmm. I procrastinate all my chores until I do them all in one day. And then I'm like, oh my God, I did all this stuff. This is great. Like my lawn is always 2 inches longer than my neighbor's. Always. Even if I mow it, if we mow it the same day, it's 2 inches longer. So that's my weakness. But as soon as I mow it, I feel amazing. And it's that time. I don't know who does the lawn in your house, or if you just have those awesome backwoods pine trees that just you don't need a lawn.
No,
we hire a kid.
We have a city lot, and it's about a half acre, so we hire somebody. I just can't get out
wow.
to the lawn. It's just not from a time standpoint, or I'm just not physically able to anymore.
You've got allergies and junk too, so.
Yeah, I'm super allergic. I have to come right in. We have a tiny little postage stamp yard, so it's literally like a half an hour, even if I'm really trying to do a good job. But yeah, you feel so much better. You knock out that little thing, and then you just start going at it. But my other advice was not to, if you're stuck in that place, after an hour, just walk away.
Yes.
Do something else. Take a break until you get your routine going. Because you start to burn yourself out doing too much. You'll get like carried away. And then you won't ever go back to do it. Like you won't ever go back to do it again. Right? Look at Nanette is like, yeah. So.
Top list.
But
yeah.
It's a habit that you have to work yourself into. And if you realize that you're not really, really good with that, then you have to find some way to get better,
Right.
You don't have to be an expert. So I do have, these Post-it notes up on the wall. And these are my really super important things that I don't want to forget about. I have my spreadsheet that I have all of my to-dos that aren't 2 or 3 minutes long. I have in my mind, my schedule for feeding the geckos and my YouTube videos. That's not on any list. That's just every week I know I have to do that. But when I can, I jump on my list and I start, tackling some of the things. Which ones do I do? Well, I'm so anal about this that I have my to-do list by description, by, is it gecko related? Is it fish related? Is it, I sense another.
Sorry, I can't. I've been trying not to focus on Nanette the whole show, but every time I glance up and she's like, I can't not laugh. I'm sorry.
His spreadsheets, and I don't know if you do it now as much as you did, but at work, he would come home on a Friday night with a printed out spreadsheet of all the tasks that had to be done for his job, and he would have the amount of time it would to spend on each of those things.
I still do that.
Oh my
It's
God.
very detailed. It's not just feed geckos.
And I'll tell you why I
Very
do that. So this list, and I'll set it up like on a Saturday or Sunday, and it's not so detailed that I'm saying, okay, go to the bathroom at this time. It's more, here's a 2-hour task. Here's a 3-hour task. And what I do is I try to schedule, because I know that on Mondays I have more time than I have on Tuesdays. So I might have 6 hours to fill on Tuesday. Well, I need to feed the crusteds. That's 2 hours. So that gives me 4 hours. So I look at my list. I have, 10 things that are about 4 hours. I don't choose one of those. I go back through and I choose something that's 2 or 3 hours, because I know it's going to take me longer than 2 hours. Something's going to pop up. I never try to schedule, for the hours that I think something's going to take. And I try to be very honest with those hours to the actual hours that I have in a day to work on things. I schedule to about 50%. And that way I don't get frustrated in the middle of the day as much anymore when something pops up that I have to do. I go downstairs and a bank of lights are out. Son of a gun, I don't have this scheduled, so I'm not going to get to it until Friday. Yeah, it's not going to work. The animals need lights. So I know that I have, these 4 hours and 2 hours I have to do this task, but now I have to work on this bank of lights for 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, well, that fits the time, so I'll go ahead and do it.
That's awesome. That's a good way to leave a little wiggle room so you have the time to tackle those things that just pop up, because there's no, like in my experience, the animals don't respect your schedule whatsoever.
Exactly.
So neither does the equipment, none of that stuff. When I was keeping turtles, we were keeping sliders, and we had a couple babies in 20 long, and I don't know what happened to it, but in the water submersible heater broke. And so it didn't do anything to turtles. The turtles were fine. It just the the heating element was directly connected to the water. So I had rubber sole shoes. So I reached in to get something out of the tank. And my wife reached in to touch one of the turtles. She was barefoot.
Oh.
And she's like, oh, I think he bit me. And I was like, well, grab him. Like, what's the matter with you? Like, I was in the water, like, fine. And I'm like, well, grab him. What's your problem? She goes to grab him again. So he bit me. So I think she got shocked 3 times before I took my shoe off and put my hand in. I'm like, oh, that's electricity.
Oh my
So, yeah. So you don't know. You don't know. I mean, it's not going to blast you across the room, but it'll tickle you.
It'll tickle you real good.
It's a tickle. Yeah. It's one of those like your weird uncle that tickles too hard and doesn't stop when you cry. Nobody else had that uncle? No, just me.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That'll keep you up at night tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't inappropriate tickling, but it was too long. It was just too long and like.
Not inappropriate.
Yeah. Not inappropriate. Not in a bathing suit area. Just regular old hardcore tickling.
Show me on this mouse where you're.
On the wheel? I think it was. Oh, they don't have wheels anymore either, do they? It's all lasers. Oh, we're old. We're old. My first mouse was an armadillo.
Boom.
We're old, Wally. So you have to schedule your 4-minute poop after having your coffees that you get from your.
I give myself time for my poop. I don't put that on my spreadsheet.
Now you're drinking all that coffee.
That way I can take 5 minutes just in case, you know. If
I'm in there.
All right.
If I have to catch another Pokemon, you know, I've got those 5 minutes instead of 4.
I'm in there so long that my daughter now, she'll be like, she's done this for like a year. Daddy, I just have to poop for a little bit because that's what I have to tell her. Like, get out of here. Daddy has to poop for a little bit. So now she says it every time. Or she'll let you know ahead of time. Like, I'm going to poop for a little bit.
Does she ever say, I wrote, this is going to be a big one?
She says, that was a hot one. And then we're like, what the hell does that mean? Like, that's not good. You eat fruit bars and macaroni and cheese. Like, that's it. What's coming out of you?
I tell
anyway,
you, Daddy, those tacos went right through me, Daddy.
I wish you would eat tacos. Sorry, Faith. I sold you out on your pooping habits. I'll show this video to your first boyfriend when I want to get rid of him. Anyway, we're just doing friend talk now. So, do you have any other tips for us before we go, Wally?
I'm trying. Yeah, I do. Yes. So when I try to schedule my time downstairs, I try to batch the time. So I'm not going to go down there and do these 10. I'm not going to go down and feed and clean these 10 tanks, you know, now, and then in 2 hours go down and clean another 10 tanks. I'm not going to get all of my mealworms or crickets or whatever together for this bank of tanks. I need to do that same task. I need to catch crickets and get water bottles ready and other things, you know, get my sieve and get the garbage can and everything for all the tanks for, you know, this room. So I try to batch stuff like that up so that I touch the things one time and I'm not doing doing things 2 different times. Consistency is a big factor. Again, you know, I'm the worst at this, but if you had all of your isopod tubs looking the same way, if you had the moss here and the cork bark, and you could just go in and feed and water and done and next, and that saves a lot of time. And I do that to most degree with the geckos. I have my water dish in one spot.
Yeah, you do.
I do. So I have my water dish and my mealworm cup all kind of the same in all of the tubs so that I can go in, water, feed. I know what I'm doing every single tank, for the most part, every single tank.
So that part's mostly mechanic. It's all standardized. I've noticed in your videos, like the water thing's on the right-hand side and the little food cup is on the left-hand side and you're just ready to go.
You're right on. Exactly. Yeah, until Nanette goes into it and it's like, Nanette, that third tank on the second row had the water dish on the left side and the mealworm cup on the right. Messed me the heck up, man. You can't do that. You can't, Nanette. You know the rules. I shouldn't have to tell you twice here.
Now you got to watch out. He's going to glue them down where they go. You're going to be in trouble. I could 3D print you some little holders that are like the cup only fits in the one side.
The first rule of Supreme Gecko, we put the mealworm cups on the left side. The second rule of Supreme Gecko, we put the mealworm cups on the left side. And then we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about the mealworm cups. The only thing I use for mealworms is my ants, and they are savages. Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch. Like they drag it off into the depths immediately. Like it's not even funny. I wish they still chased flightless fruit flies because that's the funniest thing to watch because they're horrible at catching them. So the fruit fly will you know how they kind of jump?
Yeah.
They'll try to grab the fruit fly. They're like, oh, it's right here. And they'll go to grab it and it will jump and the ant will literally be like, what just happened? Did that thing just teleport? Like what? And then they'll run around in circles until they find something again. So it's really funny. You see in the shows and stuff that ants are just savages and just take down whatever. But that is not the case. Like whatever they took down wasn't having a good day to start with. So, but yeah, those guys, all of my stuff's very low key, but it is still standardized. Like my isopods they're all in different kind of bins. Because that's how I got into the hobby. But that's about to change. But they're all getting kept the same way. Like all of their moss is in the back left. And if you want an ant farm, message me and I will get you started on an amazing ant farm. And they're super easy, super cheap. You can kind of keep them like isopods, honestly. You just have to get Vaseline. That's the key. I put a Vaseline rim around the tub and I replace that once a month. No escapes so far. Knock on wood.
A product called Bug Stop. They're, you know what I'm talking about? It's white. It's talcum based.
I use that. I use
alcohol. The
talcum and alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that not work instead of the Vaseline? I know I used it for fruit flies way back when I was doing chameleons, and the fruit flies would walk right up to the barrier and stop, turn around, and go back down again. So I used it for dubias as well, and that it worked for dubias.
Oh, that's good.
I haven't seen the product in a long time though, so
you can just mix. So I mix. I've never seen that product, but I just mix alcohol and baby powder. You have to be careful. You just get talcum because they put stuff in them that can be toxic to your feeders or toxic to what you're feeding it to.
Yeah.
You have a carpenter ant queen. Frank's got ants.
Oh, wow.
What kind of carpenter ants, Franks? Do you know what kind? What subspecies it is? Because my big colony is a carpenter ant queen, and then I have two smaller colonies. Like really, one is just a queen, and her workers escaped. So I did have an escape. She had 10 workers, and they got away, and she was too big to get out, so she's alone now.
Oh.
I don't know what happened to that. No, they don't really get away. Like I did have one big escape of my colony. It was about 100 ants at the time, and they escaped, and I tore up my basement looking for them. That's when I had Nat on the show. Nat was my co-host, and after the show, I went to check, and I was like, oh, crap, they're gone. And that was my fault. Like, they were in a tube setup, a tube and pods. Remember that that habit trail thing I built?
Yep.
If you guys look back in my videos, I built a habit trail for isopods. Well, I put ants in there because the isopods were dying in it, honestly, because they couldn't get back to the moist areas. So, yeah, my whole colony got out, and I looked everywhere. And then they were in a potted plant that I kept next to my crested gecko right above where they were kept. They were all in there, and I picked the plant up. You know how they're in the pot, and you pick it up, and the whole thing comes up?
Yeah.
Well, like 30 of them charged up my arm and just started biting the crap out of me. And immediately, like, they were like, you got to die. And so I think I probably killed about a dozen of them before I realized what it was. I didn't know what was happening. I just smacked them. But I got them all back. I got everybody else I got back, and they were fine. So if you're smart and you're clever about it, you can get them back. And if your crested gecko escapes and you have a cat, your cat will help you find it. No, he was fine. I told you, right?
A good thing.
No, it's not always a good thing.
Yeah.
I told you he escaped, and my wife was like, is this yours? And the cat had his paw on the gecko's head. And then she'd lift her paw, and the gecko would move. She'd be like, no, I didn't say you could go. I just want to see where you are. Not a mark on him. I think he had a tiny scratch on his back. It was a miracle. Camponotus pensivilicus. Nice, Frank. That's like the most common one. They're bigger than mine, though. I have discolor, and they're kind of pretty. They have like a black thorax, and the rest is like a reddish brown. And now we're just talking about ants. I think I'm due for an ant guest soon to get that all out of my system. But that takes a lot of time and planning to do. So taking care of them takes a lot of time and planning. So I didn't know. Yeah, because they're in like test tubes. Here. This is an ant setup right here. There you go.
Very cool. So that's the whole setup right there?
Well, for this species, I don't even know if you can see them. There's 5 queens in here. Those little brown spots.
Oh, yeah.
Right here, those are queens. And they still have eggs, but no babies yet. No, well, they're not really babies. They just come out full ants. So, but that's your starter setup, basically. That's how you start them. Wally, will you be doing ants?
No, I will not. Fish was my limit. Fish was my last kind of excursion into other types of animals. Frank has a lot of knowledge on ants and a lot of information. I'm just kind of wondering if Frank caught your show with the folks that kept the ants.
I think I've had 3. I've had 3 shows with ants on it, Frank. If you go back, they're mostly kids, and those kids are super smart. They're like 20 and under, I think. Well, Scott's not. Scott's like 25 or something. But the other 3 guys I had on are like, was it 3 guys? Yeah, they're like 19, 20, and they're experts. To talk to them is amazing. I got to go on a field trip with them, and it was awesome. But we'll talk about that later. I'm going to have another one of those guys on soon. One of the guys that I had on before. So, sorry, I hijacked your stuff with ants. I'm so into ants right now.
That's cool.
Ants and jumping spiders is my jam. And fruit flies, apparently. So, yeah, when you buy them from PetSmart, they're not flightless. I'll tell you right now. They are not. They will fly. Yeah, so I got to get some time management for my show. But other than that, doing all right.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any tools? Do you have any tricks that I haven't talked about that you could share with me and the audience?
I don't know if I have any that'll enhance your situation, because I don't have like an assistant either. That's why I don't get any farther into the hobby than I have. Like, it's me until maybe Faith gets a little older.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I bring a roly-poly and she's like, no, she'll laugh. She's like, I'm not touching that. There's no way. No. So she doesn't run away. She's just like, no. But my thing is like what I said earlier. If I get overwhelmed a little bit, or I start to get overwhelmed with the list, I start to look at what I need to do, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to get this done? Like, I already went around to my neighbors and said, hey, if you guys are raking leaves, I'm going to take a bag of leaves from you. Like, just let me know, or leave them on the curb and don't think it's weird when I take it. Like, I'm going to come steal your leaves. Because that'll save me a lot of time. But yeah, I just do a couple things. I start out doing a couple of small things, and then I get that ball rolling. And all of a sudden, I'm doing it. Because I'm the guy that I get into a side project, and I get laser focused on that, and I forget about everything else. So, yeah, when I was taking that 30-gallon tank and turning it into an ant farm, that's all I thought about for 4 months. And so I'd have to remind myself, like, hey, you have living creatures depending on you. Go take care of them. What's up, buddy? Cheyenne came to join us.
Hey, how's it going? I was the same way, though, with the fish. When I started kind of batting it back and forth, when I finally made the decision, I'm going to put it up, a fish rack. I don't know how big, how many, but I'm going to put something up in the office so I can enjoy fish again. I was, the same way. That's all that I thought about. So that's hard. You have some goal in mind. You want to get it done as soon as possible, but you have other responsibilities. So even though it's a number one, sometimes you have to knock it down to number 2 so that you can get some other things done, like other number ones.
Yeah, and I mean, my work was suffering while I was building that thing because I'd lose track of time. I'd be up till like 2 or 3 in the morning and have to get up at 6 for work. And I'm not 20 anymore. I can't do that. But and then the next day I'd do it again. Like I was doing it 4 or 5 days in a row. And then I'd be at work like, you guys, I need some of that Starbucks right here. Just shoot it in there.
Yeah.
It was bad. Oh, hey, DEA, what's up, buddy? We were just talking about you, actually.
Andrew's ears must have been ringing.
Yeah, we were talking about you earlier, Andrew. You have to go back and watch the episode. It was brief.
Don't go back and watch because I said some pretty mean things, I'll be honest.
You didn't.
Sorry,
It was.
Andrew. Kind of a preemptive sorry here.
He mentioned what you told him when he said you needed to get one of those punch cards at your pet store, Andrew. So, like, the 10th lizard is free. He said you had some harsh words for him for that information. But yeah, I mean, I have too many hobbies is my problem, and I can't pare them down. Like you can see behind me. Well, you see my isopods behind me, but over here is I paint miniatures. Wow. I run Dungeons and Dragons games. I have a 3D printer to make more miniatures. I have, honestly, I probably have more things unpainted than I have isopods in my house right now.
What is the miniature game, if I may ask?
I do Dungeons and Dragons, and then I bought a Hellboy. I bought a Hellboy board game that comes with miniatures. I got it in a Kickstarter, so it came with like 400 miniatures or something. And now I'm in on a He-Man one. So, were you a He-Man fan, Wally, or is that after your time?
No, that was way before it was after my time. I'm sorry, it was after my time. I was more Hanna-Barbera kind of stuff. So
Tom and Jerry,
Blitz, stuff like that. I was Clutch Cargo. I was Ray Rayner time.
Whoa!
Yeah,
all right.
Like, who is
Clutch
that?
Cargo? Well, I'm a huge animation fan, so I'll watch all that stuff, and I love to see the history of it and how it came up. Like the very first black and white Superman cartoon that was so good. The animation in it was amazing, and it blows my mind. The old Tom and Jerry, there's nothing like it, like the original Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Right.
It's still to this day, nobody can compete with that. Okay, Andrew used to make World of Warcraft. Oh, wow. Nice. But yeah, I have a couple different games, but most of it's just Dungeons and Dragons. Like I like to play, I like to run it. I'll have to show my ship sometime. I had a ship built. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see this white thing here? This big white thing? That's just the back of it. So that's almost 3 feet long.
Wow.
From the side. And that's probably almost 1.5 feet. Well, probably close to 2 feet tall. Wow. From the stand to the top of that thing. And that's the only place I can store it is up in the ceiling. So, but you see how painted that is, right? But that's like 47 hours of 3D printing and $100 worth of filament. So
that's a lot of time.
Yeah, just to print it out, and then however long it took for all the glue to dry. So that's time management too. Like 3D printing is you set something up, you go do another project while it's going. You've got to get the files ready. You've got to do all of those things. Like so, I have 20 things at any given moment that I have to manage time for, and a kid.
That's a really, really good point, though. And family certainly, you have to prioritize everything, and family certainly comes, and work comes before anything else, obviously. But you just made a good point that you're printing and you're doing this, and you're doing. I don't think I can do anything without multitasking. This is about the only thing right now that I can do. I can talk on an interview like this. I can do a YouTube video. I can edit a YouTube video. Everything else, I'm multitasking. If I'm downstairs working on the geckos, I have a YouTube video going in the background. If I'm doing research, I have another YouTube video going, or I'm listening to songs. And I also, at the same time, have a spreadsheet up, and I'm taking some notes and on another project or thinking about, future YouTube. I'm always multitasking, always. Very rarely do I have, a focus like this.
Right. I have that problem where I'm falling asleep, some multitasking in my head, like lists for tomorrow. Like, how am I going to put off work to get this done? Like, what am I going to do to avoid my bosses at work so I can get this done? I'm not the best employee at my job right now. I'll tell you that right now.
You have some 3-minute tasks. You could extend those out to like 8 hours, couldn't you? This is a really, really hot one.
Yeah, hopefully my bosses don't see this. They already somehow found my Facebook. They found 2 posts they had umbrage with out of since 2009 posting. But my day, this is literally my day. I go into work. I get my day started kind of slowly just because, it usually takes me like an hour at least to get in. And then today with traffic, it was like over an hour and a half. Because people forget that you can actually drive when it rains out. So I spend roughly an hour and a half getting all of my work done. And then I do nothing. Like I'm writing a comic book right now. So I spend all my time doing sketches for that or writing like world notes or rough edits of scripts for that. So, or like I'll get into isopods. Like I can hit videos. I can hit websites and be like, oh, this is a cool species. I'd like to get that one. Or, oh, look at these ants. Like I'm involved in an ant, what's the web thing? I can't think of it right now. Forum. It's like a forum. Yeah. So I'm involved in that. So I hit that up like 2 or 3 times a week. But it's literally like 7 hours a day of nothing. Like I'm dealing with customers, but that's like just interruptions of my nothing. So
and that's super hard. I had a couple of jobs ago, I had like 6 months of that where I would come in and half hour. We had closed down shop and they kept 5 people out of hundreds of people to make sure the systems were going. And I was one of them and got a great, severance package and everything. But for about 5 or 6 months, it was me on one side of the building and a couple of other people on the other side. And, 10 minutes. Is the job running? Yes. Okay, let me check USA Today. Okay, I got my baseball score.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 minutes later, is the job done? The job's done. Okay, now it's 20 minutes later and I have 7 hours and 40 minutes. I'll go on USA Today again. Yeah, that's the same box scores. And that is the worst thing in the world. Those 5 or 6 months felt like 3 years. It was just horrendous to not feel like you're contributing, not to feel like you don't have any value whatsoever. So I can appreciate that. But like I said before, find the stuff that you love and get away from the ones that are toxic and you'll do much better. When I left my latest employer, it took me, how long? I would wake up in the middle of the night. Okay, I've got to do this and I have to put that together in a meeting. I've got to schedule a meeting. And then it's like, no, I don't. So back to sleep. And then 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, ready for work. I've got to do. Oh, no, I don't. And then one day I woke up like a month into this whole thing. I was constantly waking up in the middle of the night like I would when I was working. Oh, I've got to call the Koreans because they have to work on. Oh, no, I don't. It took about a month or so before I just said, wait, that's not my responsibility anymore. I don't own it. I don't own it anymore. It's gone. And then this is a crazy thing. From that night on, I slept, through the night most of the time.
That's cool. You can just be like, oh yeah, here you go. I still have nightmares about being a waiter. So, and I'm thinking about going back to doing it for a little while till I get, a job somewhere else. Yeah. Everybody's hiring right now. So, but I have nightmares. I have nightmares that I have like in the nightmares, the restaurant is 3 stories tall and each story has a different menu. And we're short staffed that night. And I've only ever worked on the first floor, but now I have to work the other 2. I have tables on all 3 floors and I can't get to them. I don't know the menu on 2 of the floors. It's insane. All of a sudden I'm just in my underpants. Like, yeah. And then I wake up just cold sweats. Like, I don't even like lobster, but
Speaking of cold sweats, when you mentioned that you were in your underwear, I just kind of started getting cold sweats. So I'm going to try to forget that part and try to sleep tonight. But again, like 2 a.m. Oh, Josh in his underwear. Oh, my God.
Here's the secret of my show. I'm in my underwear every time. No. Yeah. I've got pants. But I did do my last interview over the web, and I had my suit coat and my tie and my jacket and boxer shorts. That was it. That was my baller move. It was so empowering. I recommend everyone do that. Nice. If you have one of these web interviews, just no pants. That's my do it.
People did that during the Zoom times.
A lot of people did that during the Zoom time. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself to do it. It's so empowering. Like you're like, I know something you don't know.
Yeah, and I would be the one to forget and stand up.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be bad.
that could be rough because the camera's like right
Yeah.
there. Be like, how you doing?
That would be bad.
Is that a banana in your pocket? No, it's not. No, it is not.
I'm wearing a tank top right now.
Instead of underpants? That's really weird, Wally, but you do you. It's breezy. All right,
So-
on that note.
So, getting back to our topic for tonight. So when you're working those 3 levels of the restaurant, you need some of the time management skills we've talked about tonight. So there you go. That will put you at ease and it'll make the nightmares go away for you, buddy.
So instead of crying in my dream, I should be getting coffee for table 37.
That's
Yes.
exactly. It's on your
Gosh.
spreadsheet. You know, you're all set.
I got you. All right, thanks. That's some good, like, fade to black kind of advice right there. So Wally, I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to beg everybody to like and subscribe and buy you a coffee. And I'll put your link in the description to your 75 channels. So that'll happen. Let me just take you out real quick. And if you want to stick around and chat after this, that's fine. Or if you need to go to bed, I understand that too.
It's been a blast.
Good
Thanks
night.
for joining us.
I'm going to bed.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Always great. Thanks for joining us, Nanette and Wallens. Always great. Well, that was Wally Kern, who's my mentor, basically, for YouTube, isopods, geckos, all that stuff. Marriage. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. It is time for bed, Angie. You are correct. So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment. I want to talk to you people besides live, you know? Ask me a question I can't answer. Thanks, Frank. Love having you. Thanks for coming back for Wally. Come back for ants. We're going to talk about ants in a couple of weeks. Honestly, I don't know who we have next week because it's been kind of a weird whirlwind. But it'll be good. Whoever we have is going to be good. I think it might be Andrew at DEA, but I don't know for sure. So I'll talk to you guys later. All right? Thanks for coming. Thank you, Angie. Thank you for subscribing. That's 110. We're doing it. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming.